Hi everyone, I'm Tanaaz from foreverconscious.com and this is your weekly energy forecast for the week of August 20th. On August 23rd, we have the sun moving into Virgo, so Virgo season begins and Mercury stations retrograde. So two big energy shifts happening on the same day. Mercury retrograde is natural, it's normal. Mercury will retrograde 3 to 4 times a year. However, with Mercury going retrograde, we now have a total of 6 major planets in retrograde, 7 if you want to include Chiron. So this is a lot of retrograde activity. Let's break this down for a minute. What is a retrograde? Retrograde is simply when a planet appears to be moving backwards, and this is just from our vantage point here on Earth. Of course, the planet is not actually moving backwards, but here on our vantage point, from our vantage point on Earth, it appears to be moving backwards. When we have retrograde planets, any retrograde planet, it indicates a time to go back over the past, look back over things, to kind of move backward in our own lives, to go over, reflect, review, reassess things. That is the nature of retrograde energy. Retrograde energy, and when we have so much of it, can also create a slowdown effect. It can make us feel a little bit sluggish. We can feel like we are moving in circles because the energy is drawing us to go within. It's drawing us to enter into that reflective reassessment phase. And our current society in most, countries, and most Western countries anyway, do not really favor that. We're constantly being told to go, to move, to manifest, to, move forward. You should be working, hustling, moving forward. That is so much ingrained in our culture that when we get these big waves of retrograde energy like we have right now, it can almost feel unnatural because we're never really taught to be still. We're never really taught that it's okay to not take action sometimes, to kind of be in a passive state. We're kind of programmed that we always have to be moving ahead, moving forward, that stillness and taking time off and, just doing nothing is a waste of time. And all of this retrograde energy from the universe is kind of telling us the opposite, that we do need these periods, we do need these times where we move into a slower, stiller state of being, where we really allow ourselves to practice patience, where we don't get caught up in trying to rush ahead or trying to get to the new thing or trying to figure everything out. We instead sit back and come from a place of stillness. It's sort of a more feminine energy too. That masculine energy is do, do, do. The feminine energy is be, be, be. And this is really what we're being called to do. And it's tricky because we do have to live in this 3D reality. We do have to live in this world. And so we kind of have to find that balance. And I think that is why so many people struggle with a lot of planets in retrograde, because it's hard to find that balance sometimes of being still, of taking non-action, of going within, really connecting and listening to our inner world rather than relying on our external world. That does not always come naturally. I think we're innately able to do it, but society doesn't really prime us for that type of being, that type of living. So this is where we shift. This is where we in our own lives can make little shifts, and to use this retrograde energy as a sign from the universe that it's okay to not know the way. It is okay to be still. It is okay to be in a period of non-action. We don't have to rush ahead. We can sit and allow and flow with that allowing. By reconnecting with our inner world during this retrograde energy, our intuition can be stronger, our dreams can be more prophetic, our psychic abilities can also be activated. There is wisdom in here, wisdom that we have collected from our past, wisdom we have collected from our past lives and our past soul experiences, and that wisdom is what we can tap into and connect with under all of this retrograde energy. There is wisdom in our outside world too, but this strong retrograde energy is pulling us to find that inner source, find that inner well of wisdom, and to source from that. And that, if we kind of remember that, if we try to come back to that as much as possible, I think it will be easier to navigate all of this retrograde energy. On the surface level, having Mercury in retrograde with all these other planets could result in miscommunications, mishaps, technology issues, travel delays, all of those things that kind of come around with a Mercury retrograde. But again, if you do find yourself experiencing any of that, see how you can go within, see how it can guide you to practice stillness or practice patience or practice not being in a reactive state, but just sort of witnessing, observing, and then seeing what inspired actions arise from that naturally. So something to play with as we move throughout the week. Venus is also in retrograde and Mercury is also in retrograde together, and this is pretty powerful and potent. It maybe will create this feeling, like I mentioned, of feeling a little bit sluggish, feeling a little bit tired. If you have been dealing with relationship issues or money issues under that Venus retrograde, this Mercury retrograde is not really going to help. It's again going to kind of muddy the waters a little bit, and we're really being called to go within before we can attend to our outside world. So keep that in mind if you're finding yourself moving through a very chaotic, confusing, or uncertain time. With the sun moving into Virgo, however, we do get this beautiful grounding energy. We're shifting out of that fiery Leo, really passionate, driven energy, which is beautiful in its own way. But now we're shifting gears into a more grounded, balanced, coming back to our inner selves, owning our inner power. All of that is very, very supported by the Virgo goddess. So practicing grounding, practicing, being in your stillness, remembering that you have the wisdom inside, all of that is a wonderful things to do when the sun moves into Virgo. It's kind of like our reminder that, we have the power, we have the strength. There is very little that we cannot achieve. There is very little that we cannot do. So remembering that, owning that, finding the confidence that comes through that. And then as we get to the end of the week, we're going to start feeling the pull towards the blue moon. We have a blue moon at the end of the month. It's August 30th. This blue moon is not actually blue. A blue moon is the name given to when we have two full moons in the same calendar month. So if you remember, we had an Aquarius full moon back on August 1st, and on August 30th, we will have a Pisces moon, a full moon as well. This is why it's called a blue moon, because it's the second full moon of the month. And blue moons are very rare. I'm sure you've heard that saying, once in a blue moon, to mean that something is very rare. It doesn't come around very often. So they're special. They're kind of like a nice gift from the universe. And to add to it, it's also a supermoon, which means that the moon will be nice and close to Earth. We're going to feel its gravitational pull strongly. And this full moon is really all about releasing. So as it comes closer, I want you to start to think about what it is you would like to release, not just on a physical level, but actually more so on an energetic, psychic, if you will, emotional level. All of that emotional baggage, all of that emotional trauma or anxieties or psychic energy that we collect from the world around us, or that we collect, when we feel judged, or when we feel shameful, or when we feel some of those childhood wounds, being triggered and activated. All of that, if I can call that, say, psychic debris or psychic heaviness that clogs our auric field, it clogs our heart or energy centers, all of that, that's what I want us to focus on releasing under this Pisces blue full moon. And so as we get closer to the full moon, it happens on August 30th, I want you to start collecting, some of that psychic energy to release. So start thinking about it. What's it going to look like? What little energies or emotions or attitudes or thoughts or things have you been marinating or stewing on that you're just ready to be done with, because that's what we're being asked and called to release under that Pisces blue moon. It's a very, very powerful full moon for energy clearing, for aura clearing. And so if you can start to kind of think about what it is you want to shed, what it is you want to let go, by the time the full moon comes, you'll be ready. And with psychic clearing, with energetic clearing, it really all comes down to our intention. You don't need fancy tools. You don't need to be psychic or intuitive, even though we all are innately. You just show up with your intention. I'll talk more about it next week. And of course, I have a blue moon forecast already up at foreverconscious.com. You can check that out. I will have a ritual and a reading to go with that, so stay tuned for that this week. But it's all about intention when it comes to clearing from our energy field. It helps to have tools, people like to burn, smoke can be very cleansing, crystals, all of that, and they're definitely helpful, but you don't actually need them. I'll have a ritual for you, so stay tuned for that. Okay, I hope that's helpful. We have lots of retrograde energy moving in. If you're feeling out of sorts, sluggish, uncertain, if you're feeling pulled back to the past in some way, maybe in an uncomfortable way, that's all this retrograde energy asking us to reconnect with the inner self, to reassess, to reevaluate, to make time for stillness and patience. I hope you found that helpful. I'm Tanaaz from Forever Conscious. Thank you so much.